94.3 WYBC, the rhythm of the city and home of the Juan Castillo Morning Show. Good morning, New Haven. This is Moving Target. I'm your host, Jay Kemp, and we do not have my comrade Remedy Sharif with us this week, but he will be back in a couple weeks. You know what I mean? Keep him in your prayers. We just lost a great man. And so sleep in peace, and we're just gonna make sure his family has that healing that they need. You know what I mean? But we do have Spencer. What's up, bro?
Europe, what's up?
Did you get the chicken sandwich?
I actually got the chicken sandwich yesterday. I wanted to go.
Nice. Nice. How was it?
It was good. I mean, I don't think it was worth all that hype and the death that led ultimately from that chicken sandwich, but it was a pretty good chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I wasn't really feeling it like that.
It wasn't the best.
I think it's still better than Chick-fil-A though.
Oh.
It's the bread. Honestly. That's all it is.
I think that chicken is juicy. That chicken is juicy and chunky. The Chick-fil-A, I don't know, the one by North Haven fell off. They used to have like really juicy, chunky pieces, and now they're all flat. They starting to look like McDonald's chicken.
Oh no.
You got ran out of business.
That's not cute.
That was on the bus.
I mean, yeah, man.
The customer service is still A1, so that's always
Where?
At Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm about to say,
Popeye, not Popeye. Yeah.
Wait a day.
I'm about to say, man. I think I was in there like 35 minutes. I'm like, man, this chicken better become another chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Like, I was in there for a great waiting.
It's impossible to get it on Whaley right now. It's just the line is just
it's crazy. I mean, I tried to go to the Hamden one. That didn't help.
Nah, you gotta go to the one like exit 41, 42.
Yeah.
Off the high by the truck stop.
No, that didn't. Oh, actually, yes. And somebody said not only were they good service, but they were friendly, giving you offerings. You know, spicy has a lot more flavor. I'm like, what? They were nice. Yeah, I gotta go there for now on. But yeah, man. And we got a new mayor. We got a new mayor in the building. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know what it is, man, but apparently it's the year in politics in Connecticut of the white man.
You think so?
That's what. That's some articles. I think I saw it on the Register, and matter of fact, yeah, right here in the Current, it said white men Trump factor and low turnout. 5 takeaways from the Connecticut's municipal elections. Only one woman, and then all the rest white men.
Really?
What do you think that is?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just maybe we didn't do a good job.
You think we didn't turn up? You think we didn't show up?
We didn't show up on the polls or what, man? I don't know. You know, we get sometimes a little messed up with local politics. We don't think it's, very important.
This one seemed crazy. I've never been more excited about voting, except for this year.
Yeah, well, when Barack first started running, everybody was.
Yeah, I mean on a local.
On a local level.
Yeah. I've never been more excited to put Seth Poole's name up in there.
Right. Because
You know what I mean?
Seth was throwing his hat in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see a good turnout though when you went up to go vote?
Well, I'm not.
Oh, you're in West Haven,
yeah,
so
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right. Spencer, did you go vote? Whoa!
I was working. That's my only excuse. I was working.
What?
That's not.
Yeah, that's.
And when school, work, and
that is not.
That's not a good excuse, but
not at all, man.
So he has no voice. That's what they say.
I live in West Haven too, by the way. So
what does that mean? Nah,
I'm gonna do a better job next year. I know. Yeah, disappointed in myself.
That's the whole crowd mad at you right now, man. Like every elder right now is so upset with you right now, bro. Are you gonna vote for, as far as the president?
Of course.
You know who you're gonna vote for?
Gotta see who's running. I mean,
do you know who's running, bro?
I know who's running, but I gotta see like the
Okay.
top 2 candidates.
The top candidate.
Yeah.
Who do you know who you might choose out of the Democrats?
I don't even know, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't like any.
It's like the same situation as like the previous election where you're not even voting for someone who you really want to vote for. You're voting for someone so you don't have Trump in office.
Yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
really want to go to that decision.
The gun of the night. Right?
Yeah, I don't. But there's nobody that I think could beat Trump. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
Joe
Like,
Biden?
No.
No.
Joe Biden's not beating Trump. Not
He's
anymore.
not.
He had a
He
chance,
did.
but I don't think he had a
I
chance.
don't know. You know, the tide changes so much. We say that now. It's always something.
Yeah, but it's been a while. These candidates have been going at it. You know, who was it? One of them, I forgot her name, but she hasn't even. She was doing the. She got beat down by Tulsi Gabbard in the Democrat in the debate about her stance on, how she gives convictions. She was a judge.
I'm
Kamala
talking about.
Harris.
Yeah, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Yeah, she's out. Like
Yeah,
I don't.
I
You
thought
know.
she was,
And why is Cory Booker still there? Like, what's he doing?
Because he's from Newark, that's right.
From Newark?
because he's for the break.
He's from the bridge.
I think because he's the only brother
Yeah.
and he's beige.
Barely.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
So we don't go there now.
Absolutely, Barack. Listen, I don't think Barack would have become president if he was dark skinned.
So back to that conversation we used to have about light skinned, dark skinned brothers, right?
Listen.
So that's a classic example. So as we talk about in film. Conversely, in politics, it does.
In politics, yes. In politics, light skin is safer. This is just my listen. As Juan Castillo just put it before the show, nothing on that I'm saying reflects what WYBC believes.
This has nothing to do with this.
But yes, in politics, light skin is safer. So white people feel like, yeah, this is okay. We could deal with this.
So me and
But
you were ready.
in Hollywood,
Me and you were ready.
dark skin is sexualized. And so the dark skinned man will be looked at either as the villain or the hero.
That's your next show.
That's my next show. And we went through history. Every time I give this to somebody, we go through it. And I'm like, all right, name me 5 A-list. A-list. Don't mention H.E.R. Moore. We're not.
Michael Ealy.
A-list. A-list. He is not an A-list.
No, he's about C.
Yeah, he's about C. For
What
real.
about musicians?
What's the man from?
R&B singers in particular.
R&B singers in particular. Good question. Good question. I don't know if I've dissected that too much. I think
you guys got that one.
But in Hollywood, nah,
Hollywood.
man, dark skin got it. And in politics, yes, light skin got it because light skin's safer. You know what I mean?
Understand, Cory Booker's from Newark. He's from Newark. So, I mean, I don't think they understand that the hood aspect and the street aspect that he can bring about just by someone.
I agree.
Someone who was because I know his history, because he lived in the hood, amongst the people to prove that I am a part of the people, even before he got into office, just to make sure everybody knew this is who I am, I'm with you, and that's how the people voted him in. So they don't understand the guttural street level, what Booker can possibly bring.
Then he need to bring that.
He needs to
He
bring
need to
it.
bring that because right now he's so nice. Trump is gonna run him ragged.
Well,
He needs to be. Bernie Sanders looked like he would beat Cory Booker down in a debate.
But would a Cory Booker be able to be that obnoxious like a Trump? I don't think anybody of color could be obnoxious in politics and get away with it. No one of color. That's just definitely a one.
Then he needs to find another route to be a bully. You know what I mean? But right
You know,
now,
he
you
has to
know,
be politically correct.
Anybody of color almost got to walk on water.
yeah,
Politics.
yeah,
Fine line.
but so you probably hear some voices and you're like, who are these people? So these are my guests. All right. So welcome Steve Driffin, the
What's up,
director
fam?
and writer of Her Time, the play that's coming out next week.
This coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday.
16th and 17th.
All right.
So on. Come get your tickets.
And we have also one of the cast members, Deidre Johnson. What's going on?
Good morning. How are you?
And I wanted to bring you back because I was like, we talked about some of the stories that a lot of the women in the play, the characters were dealing with.
Right.
But I wanted to speak with somebody that had firsthand accounts of those situations and the women that are in Her Time. And so we have our guest here. What's your name again?
H.E.R. Holmes.
H.E.R. Holmes.
Yes.
And you are part of the actual program Her Time.
Absolutely, I am the program director for Her Time.
Okay, you can talk a little bit about what Her Time is, just so we can refresh the audience who might not remember the last episode.
All right, so first of all, thank you for having me.
Of course.
Shout out to Mr. Charles Grady, who is the founder of Hang Time and Her Time. Her Time is pretty much the rib of the Hang Time program, which will be turning 5 years old on Monday. So
Wow.
shout out to Hang Time that's been
Wow.
around in the Bridgeport community for 5 years, solely funded off of angel donors. We just don't take money from everybody because the work that we do is definitely not subjective. Like, we need to make sure that the funds go where we need the funds to go. So just a little background, Hang Time started because men and women were coming home without resources. They didn't have like a safe space to talk about what's going on in their head when they're coming home from prison. So you have conversations such as, you know what, I don't even have money for ID, but they're forcing me to get a job. I can't get a job if I don't have an ID or
Right. What are you gonna do
transportation.
with that?
So Mr. Grady, he started this safe space every Tuesday where men and women were coming just to be a part of the conversation, just to be heard, just to be connected to resources that were claimed to be readily available, but not necessarily.
So when you say claim to be readily available, I usually am the one that advocates, look, there's plenty of resources out
Right, absolutely.
there. Right? And so why is it not really the case that it's so readily available?
Well, as you know, the city of Bridgeport is the city of redemption, right? So city of second chances.
I didn't know that.
Well, it's a lot of history about that, especially with the current mayor who did serve time. When he was released and he ran for mayor again, he was reelected. So that's when the initiative for men and women coming home and reentry, that became the wave. But at the same time, where there were supposed to be a lot of initiatives rallied behind that, the resources weren't always easy to access. And when you come home, your PO is telling you, like, yo, you need a job tomorrow. And they're like, well, I don't even have the basic necessities. Some people come home, again, no money for IDs, no transportation, and their mindset isn't right. You did a 15-year bid. How
Right.
are you coming home with the mindset ready to work?
And it's also,
That's
you know,
Right.
that's real because in the next hour, which I didn't let the audience know that I will be doing another hour after this with Leighton Johnson and Barbara Fair about ending solitary confinement.
Right.
So if you have experienced that even for a certain amount of time during your bid,
Right.
you have that along with,
A lot of mental health stuff.
yeah, like,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And think about, you're coming home, I'm using the term 15 years because that's the average of the men and women that we've seen come and go, that I work with directly, even with the students that I deal with in the city, their parents. I have students who have 2 parents incarcerated at one time. It's alarming, but going back, you need a job. Okay, we get it. We know you have to eat, but you're coming home and some people don't even know their kids. So you're trying to be a dad and mom again. So it's so many factors and going into just the re-entry, the transitioning process that get ignored. And we want to force just, okay, now you're home, do right, do better.
Right.
How?
How you gonna do
Right.
that?
How? Like,
Jim
you
Crow.
need help. And sometimes you do not know how to ask for help. So, back to, that was just a little gist of, the background. But Hang Time was started, so you had the men coming home. Mr. Grady provided the safe space. Men were voluntarily coming. So I want to stress that this is not a mandatory program for anyone. You come by choice. Mr. Grady has relationships with the halfway houses. He has relationships with judges and district attorneys and some of the police officers in the city. So people were hearing about Hang Time. Hang Time wasn't on social media for quite some time.
So this
So
was
it's
more
word of
like,
mouth.
yeah, so this is more like,
Grassroots at its finest.
so somebody comes home, they talk to their parole officer, and maybe their parole officer might say, hey, why don't you
Absolutely,
check
and
this
that's
out?
the situation. So we had one PO who's also a partner of the trifecta. So it's Hang Time, Her Time champ. You'll hear about that soon. But so for instance, Ruel Parks is a PO in the city of Bridgeport. Quill Crooks had to report to him. So Ruel was like, I heard about Hang Time, and Quill, they're in the session together. So you have a room where you could sit in the room with your PO and your client in the same room.
Wow.
And also it's family too. So I mentioned Quill Crooks, who's a really good friend of mine. His uncle is an avid supporter and one of the founding members of Hang Time, along with Mr. Grady. So that's family. You got to think about generational.
Yeah,
So you got uncles in the room with their nephews. You got brothers in the same room
that's
together.
amazing.
So the fact that it's word of mouth, they're like, yo, I literally got a job because of just Mr. Grady knowing who he knows and just being in the. Some people are sitting in the room with the judges that put him away. Like we've had sessions with district attorneys in there and lawyers who repped you.
What
lawyers
have
who
you
vouched for
seen?
you.
Like, have you heard from PO officers, district attorneys, like say, hey, I got a different outlook like sitting in the room with this individual?
Absolutely, and that's the most beautiful part about it, because one story that Mr. Grady shares is in the beginning of hang time, because keep in mind it's 5 years.
Right.
5 years of men and women sitting in a room, some of them beefing just weeks ago, literally in shootouts just weeks ago. And we're able to sit in that room, talk about it, and it stays outside. Like you don't bring that in that room. So you have district attorneys and lawyers coming in, they'll meet some of these men and women and see them at the courthouse. And I've had people come back, and Mr. Grady too, say, you know, this lawyer, he really came and held me down. Like, he came to my hearing and spoke on my behalf on site. So those are the type of dynamics or the relationships we're trying to build. It's not just about people coming home and talking amongst themselves. Nah, let's talk about like the laws and policies that's keeping us down.
And not to, not saying that race is a factor in this question, but I mean, it's, I would love to know, are these judges and some of these people white that are coming?
Absolutely. I will say they come in, I'm really leery, and Mr. Grady gets on me all the time, because I stress that people have to see color in situations like this.
Sure.
And sometimes you try to walk around and it's like, nah,
it's here. We
here.
know it's a factor.
It's a factor, but the people who do come, people who are not of color, they come and they hear these stories and they see different perspectives. And we change perspectives. Now they have more empathy towards the young black men and women and Latino men and women that they're locking up.
Yeah.
So just the relationships that we've seen built, and just the respect that's in the room, that's first and foremost. And his slogan or his tagline is real talk with respect for hang time. So hang time, again, 5 years strong, men and women coming home, getting plugged in. So the women, so you have the men coming every Tuesday, getting fed, coming home with resources. And their ladies are like, first of all, where are you going every Tuesday night? You just got home. Like, we got kids, where are you going?
Right.
And they're coming home sharing just what they learned. So they're complaining. The women are like, well, we need a safe space too. We had to hold you down the whole time.
We did the time too.
We did time too.
Yeah.
So Mr. Grady always had a passion for, especially single moms, and like that's one of his main passions outside of reentry. But he's like, I need to start her time. I need a space for women. So I met him when I was a public ally through AmeriCorps.
Okay, yeah.
I was working with Street Safe Bridgeport. Shout out to Street Safe Bridgeport, doing some outreach work. And he met me and he was like, yo, this is it. I need you. And I'm like, sir, I don't need this. What you mean? Like, I'm here for hours. What are you talking about? And you walk into that room, you walk into hang time thinking you know everything, thinking you about to just, why am I here?
Right.
And it starts, you start peeling back layers, and you sitting in the room, you like, yo, I'm dealing with trauma. Like this is me.
So you have a personal connection to these experiences as well?
Secondhand, when I say personal, my dad, he did time when I was a child.
Absolutely.
My brothers, all of my brothers have served time. My uncles on both sides of my family, and
that's
first
direct.
cousins, and it's like, yo, this is me, and you really don't know how to be the perfect daughter, the perfect sister. You want to write, you want to put money on the books, but I'm trying to go to school, I'm working, we barely eating, so it's like, how can you be there for people when they're away?
Right.
And just the mindset, you always blame him. I remember having a conversation with my uncle who he's been locked up on and off since he was 12 years old. And that's like, 12, and this man, he's 50. He might be 51.
Wow.
So this is the longest he's been out, I would say, for 2 years.
2 years is the longest he's been out.
The longest that he's been out since me and him have been, like, I've been aware and a whole adult in my life. Like, I've seen him for 2 years straight.
Wow.
So that's been a blessing, but at the same time, it's like, yo, why can't you get right?
Right.
And that's what my aunt calls him, Mr. Can't Get Right, because it's just like, bro, since you 12,
that's the next play.
right, Mr. Can't Get Right. Like, what you doing?
We don't need another one of those.
Right.
I'm sure Tyler Perry got plenty of those.
Listen, but it's a real thing. So women were asking the question, like, what's in it for us? Like,
Right.
seriously, what is in it for us? It's not fair. So her time, we partnered specifically because while we were doing research, we didn't just hop into this. Mr. Grady asked me, he approached me. He knew I was a college student. He knew I was a public ally. And he said, this is what I need.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, did some research and was finding out that a lot of women were impacted by other traumas, not just by being, a single mom because their husband or boyfriend or child's father is locked up. sexual abuse,
Yeah.
domestic violence. So we found a partner, which we were very strategic in. So shout out to our partner, the Center for Family Justice, who services women, children, and families who deal with traumas from sexual abuse, domestic violence. They provide space for us, and they also are just like an umbrella and just a network that we tap into for Her Time. So these women come every first Thursday of the month. We talk, we cry, we laugh. People come and present on different topics such as childcare and other important factors that they need. And childcare is always provided, which I love because you have the moms who want to come out but can't because they can't find a sitter. We always break bread together, a hot meal, family style. And we always do hands-on activities, but
That's
we leave
amazing.
with something. So
Yeah. And how often do you meet? Once a week?
So we meet every first Thursday, but Hang Time meets every Tuesday, 6 to 8.
So in this group of women, it's women who have served time. It's women who have served the time with their loved ones who had to serve time.
Yes, sir.
And then it's also children as well.
Children, they have their own little separate area. We want to make sure that whenever the children are with us, yeah, we have fun, but we also have trained professionals with the children just in case whatever they talk about, they have someone on site to deal with whatever trauma.
That's
so
amazing.
Everybody, there's always a counselor on site. We don't play because we're talking about issues that people run away from.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's people out here really dealing with some stuff that needs to be fleshed out. So.
What would you, because I have some young, in one of the programs I work at, some young girls who are right now probably about 11, and their father's locked up. You know what I'm saying? But they don't really see that it's a thing. At least they don't express that. What do you think they're dealing with at that time? At 11, 12 years old, father has been locked up, but it's like they've grown up with it. You know what I mean? What do you think they're experiencing?
First of all, that's a tough age anyway. So already your hormones going crazy. You don't know if you want to be happy that day or sad. But luckily I had my dad home around that time. He served time when I was a little younger. But they're dealing with just how are men supposed to treat you? Like that's a real thing, and it starts earlier. What kind of respect should you demand from the opposite sex?
Right.
And when you don't have a father figure right there in your face to say, nah, shorty, you can't. Don't let him talk to you like that, or you better look him in his eyes. You be confident. So at that age, it's hard because you don't have that foundation of somebody telling you like, nah, you deserve this.
So is there like maybe some men from Hang Time that are almost in support of women or even young girls that might be dealing with that are going to Her Time? Is there like a connection there where?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's a trifecta. So earlier I mentioned Hang Time, which is like the foundation of the trifecta. Hang Time, Her Time, and Chant. So we have the Her Time for Women, and Chant is a mentoring program which we overlap. So when we have the funding to go on trips, for instance, we went to DC about 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, May, and you had Hang Time, Her Time, Chant there. Kids vibing the entire bus ride. We're seeing the monuments, and we're again just pulling organic mentorship. And one thing that we're really looking into is something called credible messengers. Where people have experienced it firsthand, and they're coming back and building our youth, and they're being paid for it. Because that's the thing. Everybody wants you to be that token. They want to highlight, the forums. They want you to come to meetings.
Yeah, come to this panel.
For free. Like, nah, you do know when we not eating. He just got home, and you know that.
Right.
So, like, let's start compensating the people who you want on your token or on your bill to do this work.
So when you said angel donors, what is that? Just if somebody wanted to give, they're now an angel donor, and you said you're strategic about it. So
Absolutely.
how are you strategic about who gives and who donates?
Mr. Grady started this because people see what you do, and the heartstrings are pulled. And you're coming home, you don't have money, you have kids, and they don't like you because you
gotta pull on the heartstrings.
And it's like, all right, yes, but at the same time, what do we have to do to get that money? What are you trying to tweak? Because this is not work to be tweaked. This work has to be done in the right way. Sometimes you have to be radical about it, and some people just don't understand that you simply need to buy somebody a pair of drawers. Like, it's to that. And we shouldn't have to explain ourselves to have to give people what they need. Some people, Mr. Grady has helped with payments on different things, but what do we have to do to get those funds? And how much stake do you want in this program or initiative?
Right.
So you have to weigh those factors, and you have to be strategic about it because you don't want people to run away with the program or change the face of it. This is raw work.
Have you read the play?
I have not read the entire play, but I've seen like a lot of what's going on.
She's been at rehearsals.
Been at rehearsals and talking to Mr. Brady directly, because this is his baby. So shout out to him, all the investing and the work that him and Steve have done together. It's been awesome. So I let him, this is his vision. I'm just programmed, and I respect that, but he knows he can call me anytime for this creative or visual work that he's doing.
What do you think people, because I want to stress the importance of people going to see this play.
Right, yeah.
Right? I mean, this isn't just a play right now. This is actually the stories of people you actually work
Real
with.
life, absolutely.
That, other people need to really understand and see this. So how real has this been when you've been at the rehearsals? How real has this play been that you're like, listen, this is, talk about that a little bit.
It's gonna be crazy, because if you've even dealt with an inkling of what this play is about, you're gonna see yourself.
Right.
You're going to see yourself, and that's the scariest part. And even though I know it's just play rehearsals right now, I can only imagine the impact it's gonna have on people, because you're gonna see a reflection in one scene or the other. You're gonna feel something from just the people that they have acting. Shout out to whoever did the casting, because the cast is amazing. Like, when I tell you, I see my brother and the dude who plays the boyfriend. I see him. Oliver, Brandon. I see my best friend. When I see Brandon, I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And I'm like, Mr. Grady, you did this on purpose. You trying to have me break down. Like, you're trying. Because, we gotta be thugs out here. We can't be out here crying all crazy.
That's what they say, right?
We gotta be, But you're gonna see yourself, and you're gonna take something away from it. And if you're gonna see different perspectives of people. Yeah. I love how they talk about the effect of family. So you have Auntie here who's been holding it down while her sister locked
Deidre,
up.
you're playing Auntie?
Yes, I played Jada Williams, the aunt that has held down Kim, my sister, who was out the way for 25 years.
Right.
So took care of her kids, and now her grandchild.
Yeah.
Okay. And you just stepped onto the cast.
Yeah, literally.
Like 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, I got the script.
But she kills it though.
Had to call her agent to make that happen.
My agent Kiki, my daughter.
So you play the auntie who had to take in a child?
Well, what wound up happening, my sister got caught up with some dude on the street, Trigger. And
that's his name, Trigger?
That's the name, Trigger.
Of course.
Trigger. Bang.
Is that in the play?
No, I just said that.
He presents himself like that. I'm Trigger, bang, bang.
Yeah, that's what he did to my sister. He banged her and got her locked up for 20. She did a 40-year bid, but got out in 25. But in the meantime, in between time, I'm holding down the family. I took her kids. One, the baby was 4, and she was pregnant with another one. Had the baby in prison. So I had to take care of them. And then Destiny, with her fast behind, she goes out there and she has a child. So now I'm taking care of her daughter.
So in this play, there's a few populations that don't really get overlooked in this conversation, right? So you got the parents who deal with the children that are doing the time, the siblings, which I think siblings get overlooked a lot. It's almost like, oh yeah, that's just my brother or my sister doing time, and I'm living this life. But that is also a lot of things. There's a lot of things going on there. I don't see a lot of talk, a lot of studies done. I don't see a lot of conversation being made about that.
Good. That's what I feel that is happening. And I said it last night. I think Jada did a bit. Like, when it's her time. We talk about Kim coming out and having her time. When does the aunt get her time? Because basically her time was spent taking care of Kim's kids, so she's out there taking care of the kids, hustling. Now she's taking care of grandkids. When does she have her time? Yeah. Because so far her life has just been consistently taking care of someone else that should have been there in the first place, taking care of responsibility when she's incarcerated.
Right.
So I think that's very much overlooked, the family aspect, because the family does the bit just as much as the person that's incarcerated.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not only that, something that the 5K motion, because this is just like, it picks up after a 5K motion, a short film Mr. Grady did about 4 years or 5 years ago with the district attorney's office. people don't understand when you're signing off of these bids, like you're signing your life away. You need to fight for a better sentence, especially if you know you didn't do it. So at that time, Kim, they knew she was innocent. They knew it was her man, but because she wasn't snitching on him, she had to do the mandatory minimum. So understanding just the laws and how to be represented, a lot of times our people don't know how to be represented when to ask for the lawyers, and when you're given just a public defender who's just like, all right, next. Yeah. You don't know how to advocate for yourself.
And that's real. Even on the lowest level, I remember having a parking infraction, and I said, well, I went to court, and I'm like, no. I said, they said, well, if you pay $50, I said, well, for me to pay $50 is saying that I'm guilty. I said, I'm not paying for it. I didn't do it. And they said, well, you're going to have to go to trial. And they kind of try to twist it like there was this thing. And I'm like, okay, let's go to trial. They looked at me like, damn. You know what I'm saying? Like,
what they end up doing.
Right. So I ended up going to trial. And, people didn't show up. The officer didn't show up. They nollied it. They threw it out. But the fact that I thought about the brothers on higher levels who don't fight it because they put that pressure on you.
I've never fought a traffic ticket.
What?
Parking ticket.
Because you always been
I do all the time. Every single one. I'm paying nothing. I'm going to court. I look for the sheriff or the police officer. If he ain't in there, y'all know y'all letting me go today, right? Straight up fight all of them.
I wanna definitely shout out my brother Comrade Remedy Sharif for coming back through, man.
Peace and blessings, man.
Didn't know you was gonna come through, man. Good to see you, man.
Much love. Yes, I needed it, man.
No doubt.
I needed the smiles and the energy, and especially y'all doing a marvelous job over there. I can't wait to see the play myself.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Yeah. So yeah, I never fight them, and I should. Don't get me wrong, but the same thinking is I got this going on. I don't have the bread. It's almost like I'm good.
And the time, I don't have the time to stop.
I don't have the time. Right.
And brothers catch big.
It takes one time though. We ain't gonna go home, but it takes just a few minutes, man. Just as I had one ticket that went up to 2 and some change, bro. I went in there and I just looked at him, gave him the, it's just bro. I couldn't get here.
We don't have it. We got a murderer that's up next.
Thank you.
Just go.
I should try out for the next place, man. Cause I do what you have, maybe I could do it.
Yo, sorry.
Say that again. Say that line. I'm sorry.
That's what you got it.
So what does happen in that situation? You have brothers that really don't feel they got a public defender. Is there anybody that steps in and says, hey, look, we don't have to settle for this. Here are other routes that you can advocate for yourself. Does anything happen in that situation?
Well, if you have a circle like Hang Time, absolutely. We have people in situations now where they're getting their pardon. So the best feeling was Quill, one of the founding members. He got his pardon, and he called me like, yo, Mayor, it's done. Like, the judge signed off. The judge that actually put him away signed off on it, and he was like, yo, I feel so good right now. Wow. Like, I'm off probation. I'm good out here. And mind you, he's been doing the work. He's been giving back. So even while he was on his situation, he was still giving back. But it's nothing like being really free.
Yeah.
So we're working on stuff like that now, pardons and showing people how to go about it and hearing them with people who can help them get it done without the hassle, because they try to run us around. So they see you wanting to get your pardon, and it's a hassle. Do this. And it's like, I can't make it there and then. I don't have access to that. So Hang Time will literally walk you through it. And if one of us, like staff, can't do it, we know we have a network who can. No question. No runaround.
So is it like, what I'm hearing a lot of at Hang Time and Her Time, it's almost humanizing. It's just like that. Yeah, that's what it seems like the system is set up where they don't even, and when we go to court, for whatever reason, they see a black face. That's all they see. They don't know the person.
Right.
So I think Hang Time and Her Time, they make the people, they bring the humanity back.
Yeah.
And especially with having the prosecutors and judges there now, they get to know people.
Yeah.
And people treat people differently when you know them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I was like, this Hang Time is just amazing because it's now making the prosecutors and the judges in order to see these ex-criminals as actual people
Right.
that they can have a conversation with. They're not just a number. They're not just a court docket. These are human people with names and families. So now that you get to, and a story, and now that you get to know this story, you get to know them. So now you have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
I would like to see COs up in there too.
If I don't want to speak on it, but I believe there has been a CO or two that have come into Hang Time's doors.
Because for the next conversation, like I said, we got Barbara Fair, Layton Johnson to talk about ending solitary confinement and going deeper into solitary confinement. It's like I've already known it's terrible, but it's horrific. It's there's no way a human being should ever be can develop or be helped at all after experiencing solitary confinement.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They need a lot of work after something like that. But one of the issues is listening to the stories, even Layton's story, is that the COs themselves don't look at them as human beings. They don't look at them as people. And then so if you have judges, COs, PO, parole officers, and all these people who are in these spaces that are helping them transition, but don't see them as people.
Right.
You're gonna have there's always gonna be this roadblock. So something like a Hang Time or Her Time, being able to bring those people into the space where now you start to now, as somebody tries to navigate and transition, they're meeting people that are helping them along the way as opposed to blocking.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong. They come into the space and they know that they're on our turf. So don't come in here acting crazy. You'll walk out different, but just know nobody's gonna sugarcoat nothing for you. You think that judge who came and put somebody away got it easy? Nah, we had a conversation like, this is what you did.
Right.
This is what you didn't see. You didn't give me the opportunity to do this.
Right.
So real conversations are being had, and after that they come willingly. This is not a room full of ops. Like, that's not the case. But they know they have the space. They're invited to. If you want to have a real conversation and learn about it, then let's do it.
Is there any behavioral health advocates there? Because I think someone coming out, because you talk about humanity and humans, well, some of them don't even know that they're human because they feel that they're called animals or whatever all their life. Some of them, I'm not going to assume all, but I'm just going to assume that something wrong happened to get them where they are, and now you're coming out and you're expected to behave a certain way. Is there something set up to help these brothers and these sisters to emotionally help them? Because like you said, they're coming out into a world that they don't know. And you're asking them to be fathers and husbands and men. Well, who's going to teach them how to be there when they really don't know how to do it themselves?
This year we did a really good job of making sure that we talk about trauma with trained professionals in the room.
Right.
So this past year, I'm not saying it hasn't been done in the last 4, but this year has been great. We've had 52 people in a room literally talking about their feelings. Grown men coming home like men from halfway houses, talking about their feelings and being transparent, vulnerable. It was so chilling that you didn't leave the room the same. And this took place. It's kickstarted this year, but maybe 4 sessions in a row, we literally had grown men just like, I feel so much better. Like, you don't even know how I feel just being able to say that and not feeling judged or not. So we've been bringing trained professionals to house in these sessions each Tuesday that have been volunteering their time. So shout out to volunteers. We haven't been coming out of pocket to have these people who are trained to flesh out these thoughts in the room. So we want to keep that momentum going. Even with Her Time, we're learning how to express ourselves more. So we've been doing yoga. So you try getting a black lady to be like, yoga? Who's
Man,
that?
get some of them brothers.
What's his name?
Yoga and also dance. Like,
Get some of them brothers to do yoga. Because I'm
But
gonna tell you right
we
now,
got
man.
you.
Like,
We got
yo, I look. Professor Don and I are talking about doing that, like really doing something about getting brothers to do yoga. You know what I mean? It's always for black women.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We start the trends. Black women, we come with it, man.
Yeah, we need to.
You better know.
No
Shout
doubt.
out to you.
And we need to take that.
That's
we need
it.
to be able to learn from that because
we do
y'all
have
keep
a
yourself right.
We have a co-ed yoga session on the 14th.
I don't know about co-ed.
No, but
Total
listen,
distraction.
but we're wrapping up.
I'm talking about Her Time.
Y'all
Sorry.
acting up. But we we're gonna wrap up. We had yoga this year for her time. Shout out to Marisol Cummings, who is now an employee of CFJ. She came through, gave us her services. We had a whole grant where we did 12 free sessions for women, provided them dinner, childcare, everything.
Oh, that's
we
amazing.
don't play. We gotta eat. First of all, we gotta eat anytime we have. Because that's just what it is. But yoga and all kinds of things dealing with the mind. So we're gonna get our minds right. We're getting our bodies right. It's a lot of research that goes into this work too. We do a lot of assessments, but not in a way where you're like standardized tests. What do you need? Nah.
Right.
What's bothering you?
What's real?
What is real?
What has
talk
been
about
effective?
It. Yes. So we're big on that, but again, there's always counselors on site for hang time and her time.
So I want to make sure because I always like wait to the last second. And I'm like, all right, we gotta go. We just give the information and we just go. So let's clearly, we got Justin, our tech dude. Can you pull up our Facebook? We're gonna put this information on there right now. So you can go to our Facebook page, Moving Target Podcast, and make sure you know this information. So first, let's start with her time. Where can they go to get more information, know where to meet, and all that?
All right. So I am on her time's Facebook page is at her time BPT. And that's where everything is posted, as far as where to meet, what we got going on, and that's also something that I get access to directly. So you can DM me, and I'm very responsive. We don't play about that.
All right, and Drift, the play. Where is it going down? How much are the tickets?
Right. So next Saturday and Sunday, the 16th and 17th, we'll be at the Klein Memorial. Bridgeport, Connecticut, and tickets are $10. You have to get them online.
You have to get them online.
You have to get them online. I got them in my pocket, man. And also, there's no. If you wait for the last minute, the seats aren't general, so the seats are assigned. So if you got your partner, you know what I'm saying, and y'all wait till the last minute, you might be sitting on different ends. Tickets are selling.
How's the play? I like it.
Hey!
And is it one-time showing?
No, the Saturday we have 2 shows, a matinee showing and an evening show, and Sunday we have another matinee show. 2 o'clock. Yeah.
All right. Make sure, thank y'all for coming through so much. We got to get more people to you.
Yes. I just want to plug Hang Time did expand, so not only are we in Bridgeport, but we're in Hartford, Waterbury, and New Haven now. So
all right.
Her time will be expanding too. Her time is coming to you soon, 2020. We'll let you know.
So make sure y'all stay tuned. Coming up next for Electric Drum, Moving Target will be back. We're going to be ending solitary confinement. All right, stay tuned. 94.3 WYBC.
Peace.
All right. Good show.